Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of New Strength Sugar Babes. We've got Alex here, and she's a New Strength Sugar Babe from way out back. Well, not way out back. She lives in Orange.
Yeah,
It's a little bit remote.
Yeah, it's a lot remote.
It's a little bit
People
remote.
look at me like I have two heads when I'm like, oh, great.
And
Anyway.
she doesn't have kids. She's one of the few women like me in our program who actually doesn't have kids. How old are you?
No. I'm 26. I'll be 27 in June.
Yeah, you're one of the younger women in our program too. Like the majority of women are in their 40s, probably 40s, I'd say, early 50s, and some are in their 30s like me, but more late 30s. So it's so good that you're doing this now, I think, because like I think about when I was your age, like that was when I was in the like thick of doing the dumb shit, all the dumb things. So it's good. It's good. So anyway, I'll stop crapping on. And can you tell the viewers basically why you joined the program? Like what were the issues that you were having and how are they affecting your life?
My issues very much revolved around just, I think the key essence of it was, that classic old bit of self-hatred where I couldn't figure out how to exercise properly. Like I'd done it like a 6-week program the year before. That was when I was living in Darwin, and then I moved to Brisbane, and I'd slowly decided to put back on the weight that I had lost. And like I was never an overly big person. I blew out a little bit when I was at uni. And I think that's when all my issues started, because I heavily abused like terrible food and alcohol, like being a uni student, like typical uni life. And then so I moved to Darwin for like my 4th year of my prac, and just lost a shitload of weight, and then came to like move to Brisbane and the year after 2017, and it just was not sustainable. And that's when everything for me went to shit. So I was starting to put on weight. My skin went absolutely ballistic. I had all this cystic acne, which I still do have a little bit of, but it's 1,000,001 times better than what it was. My hair was falling out. I was up and down with my moods. I was really, really depressed. I got diagnosed with what's basically a psychiatric condition where your mood changes that much throughout the second part of your cycle, because your hormones just can't regulate and it sends your brain fried. So that was how it was described to me from the GP. And the ultimatum that I got put on was, you go on the pill, you hope that it fixes the PCOS, which I eventually got diagnosed with, and we'll give you these antipsychotic drugs that you take for the rest of your life. And I was like, right. I couldn't, it all just came at me thick and fast. And I'd been to see a gynecologist, and she put me on the pill. And I've got a history of blood clots and migraines, so the pill for me is not a good thing. So she put me on the mini pill to try and help me with all of this stuff, and it just went from bad to worse. Like my hair continued to fall out, like I continued to slowly gain weight, like I was up and down with my moods. It affected multiple levels of my life to the point where I was really upset. I ended up quitting my job and moving. But prior to all of this, I remember I was going to this gym, and like the trainer who was there, she was very much into like sort of strength training, and she just looked at me and she's like, what are you trying to do? Like, what are you trying to achieve? And I just I lost my shit. I burst out into tears, and I was like, this happening with my period. I'm not getting my period. Like my skin, I can't figure out what to do. Like I'm doing everything that by the book is healthy. Like I'm trying to regulate my periods like with the pill. Like I can't win. Like I can't lose weight. I can't get stronger. I can't do anything. And she was like, I think you should go and speak to this woman. Her name's Kitty. I had met you in a previous powerlifting comp, and I think that was like my little shining star moment. Like this person redirecting me to you guys honestly saved my life. So it was just like, and it was stuff that I'd never experienced before. Like none of my family have like real gynecological issues, and to go to a gynecologist at 24 or 23, 24, and for this woman to tell me that you're going to have huge trouble, like fertility wise, this is going to be your life forever. And I was like, how is this a thing? Like, how have I all of a sudden just walked into this shit? Like, it just blew my mind. Like, I don't know why my body started to fail me. Like, doing stuff like driving in a car and praying that someone would hit me. Like, that's like where I got to the point in my life, like with my mentality. I was like, why am I even here? Like, and it was more than just like, why am I here? It was like, my body doesn't work. Like I cannot stand the way that I look in the mirror. Like, and just, period pain, like to the point where I was like gonna throw up. sort of thing. Like, and I couldn't be at work because I couldn't function. Like, my digestion wasn't too bad, but if I'd hook into like, you know, broccoli and like, you know, your green leafy vegetables, oh my God, I was like out of action for like a week. It was so bad. And I just couldn't figure out why. Like, could not, did everything by the book, like followed the diets, followed the doctors, took the medication. But the turning point for me really was like this day in the gym. And like I'd been to doctors before and they were like, you have to take this medication for life. And I was like, I no, this is not a thing. I cannot do this. It's not like my body has not just flipped a switch and, you know, you're all of a sudden like this. Like obviously there is something happening that I'm not doing right. Like I'm just not working. So that's kind
that's
of where I
crazy.
came from.
Fuck,
Yeah.
that's
It was
crazy.
not
I
very
didn't, like, I
nice.
knew it was bad, but I didn't know that it was until now that how bad it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty hard, like to, obviously for any person to talk about. As soon as you start
Yeah.
talking about like the whole mental side of it, but it affected multiple relationships. It affected my job, like, and like, cause I grew up dancing, and so I was always like a little bit of a chunkier chick, like growing up, and that was just me when I was little.
Yeah.
Um, my problem was that I was really good at dancing, and I really
Mm.
wanted to take it further, but I had trouble with my feet and stuff. So I guess I was always just surrounded by this world where, you know, I was good, but I was not. You needed to this to be gooder, like gooder,
Mm.
better. Um,
Mm.
so I just had this external force where I was like, and I've always been a person like, this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm doing it. Like, I'm going to get there.
Mm.
But it just changed my world. And to reflect back on it now and to see all
Mm.
these things that happen as a domino effect, like blows my mind. And if I can put the word out to someone else to try and stop someone in their mid-20s from going through all of this shit, then I cannot help enough. Like yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Fuck. All right. Well, let's talk about the positive things now. Let's
Yeah.
talk about, so what's changes, what improvements have you seen? Like what's happened since you've joined the program?
I think, you know, the first thing you learn about is what food is, and, you know, let's redirect our direction with food. So for me, it's the biggest thing for me was that learning that I could actually feed myself, because I got to a point and I was like, how am I meant to live the rest of my life? Like, how am I meant to eat? Like, I could not fathom. Like, I was like, how do people enjoy anything? So the biggest thing for me was learning how to eat properly, and that, you know, you can eat more than 1,200 calories and not do fasted cardio in the morning. That was like my go-to. And so, um, you know, I think when I first tracked my first week of food, I'd eaten like 1,000 calories during the day, and I was doing full-time shift work. So I can working in a major trauma hospital as a radiographer. So you run around, you pull patients, you're forever doing everything else. So like it's full on, and then trying to train as well. So, you know, I think at the minute I'm eating 1,800 calories, and I'm about ready to jump it up again. So that was the biggest thing for me, like learning how to eat properly and not being worried about what I'm eating and how to eat it. And just the realization that you don't have to eat a shitload of green veggies and all that other rubbish to be healthy. That was a huge eye opener for me. Like, and then everything sort of from, you know, eating to be healthy, not eating to be skinny. Like, eating to be healthy is such a different point of view. Like, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's so refreshing, because once I've learned to eat to be healthy, my period has come back. It's not perfect, but I think with all the problems that I had before, I know that it's going to take time. And I do not want to be a person who, you know, is resenting everything I've done before because I couldn't be bothered to put in the work now. So that initial education about food, about how to eat properly, and if you eat properly, this is what's going to happen. So my period coming back, it's a lot less painful than what it ever was. I don't know if you can see my hair, but my hair is probably the
Mm.
longest that it's ever been in its life. My hair is really thin, but that's just how it's always been. But it doesn't fall out at the rate that it was. Like, I used to be anxious to get in the shower because it just used to come out. Like, my partner used to just freak out massively. He's like, this is not normal. And I was like, no, it's not. And probably like one of the biggest things for me is like my saving grace is like my mental health. Like, obviously still have like up and down days. My work is a little bit full on, but like the scariest thing for me was, yeah, sitting in the car and just wanting someone else to do something that would end my life. So, yeah, I've owned that sort of demon and been able to move on. So, but I really do think that being in this program has helped that, because you learn to look past things and you learn to look to find your own solutions. And again, I think that 100% comes back to understanding food and how food worked, and that food and physiology of our body is not what we have been made to believe. It's a lot different to you know, what mainstream media and everything else teaches us, which for me is really difficult because I work in health. So this is very eye-opening for me, and I see a lot of women come through with problems, and I just want to word vomit all this stuff to them, but I can't. So yeah, my period problems, my mental health, my skin is slowly starting to improve. I'm enjoying training. My training has gone from being able to barely squat with a bar to, you know, I think my 1 rep max is about 80 kilos. So, and I had not properly trained prior to that. So yeah, in 12 months, it's really come leaps and bounds. So it's pretty exciting for me.
It's so amazing. Imagine where you'll be in another 12 months.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, and I'd always have like injuries and stuff. Like, I had a really bad lower back that I hurt when I was 14. So when I reflected back on like physios and stuff, I'm like, that's over 10 years of having problems. And since properly being in the program and like really focusing on technique and not busting my ass doing like I walk into this gym that I go to and there's this HIIT class on and there are dead set 100 people in there, and it's not just girls, like it's guys as well, and like they can barely breathe. I'm like, why? Like, why? It's insane. Like, I cannot imagine doing anything like that as well. Like, I squat yesterday, and like cardiovascular wise, like I was puffed. Like, I was like, there is no need to do that. Like, it blows my mind. Like, if you can like just make the effort, learn this skill. And like, I was thinking about it last night. Like, I had 3 sets of 12, which is a lot, and of squats at 50 kilos. And I was like, if I can do this, like you just got to knuckle down and just get these 12 reps out and you're done. And I was like, it's just a matter of putting your mind to it. So it's like, it's multifaceted. You learn about your physiology of your body, like how to fuel your body properly. Like, and I get migraines as well. I've not really had a migraine for a little while now. It's only when I don't eat enough, which I know now I've got a sign to trigger. So migraines have been like a thing in the past. Like, it's just a lot of different things that have improved. And I obviously cannot speak highly enough of the support that we get. So yeah, that's where I come from.
That's so good. Isn't life, I think you just got to eat more food.
Yeah, no,
And
definitely.
nutritious food.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is really. And don't flog yourself.
Yeah. 100%. Definitely. Like, and I feel like, you know, you get fed this like lessons of self-worth about, you know, how productive you are, how like, you know, how much you flog yourself. Like, and it's just, I think it's just like that whole mindset thing of readjusting. Like, you don't have to do like, and I'm probably at that age group that targets the social media thing. And I never thought I consider myself to be this sort of person, but like taking health advice from Instagram, like that's like, how is it, like what, in what way and like in what world is that a thing? Like, so just, yeah, going back to that thing of like retraining your mind and like not being afraid to eat food. Like, I eat fruit with every single meal. Like, and I never thought that I was like against fruit or anything before. I definitely had like the big dairy thing, like, oh, dairy is like the worst thing you can do for your skin. And I never really avoided it because I'm like, I happily joke with people that dairy is my favorite food group. Like at work, like they'll have like meetings and stuff and there'll be beers all around, and like it's a big running joke that I'll have a milkshake, like, because that's where I am. But people definitely look at me and they're like, how much milk do you drink? Because I drink about between 1.2 and 1.7 liters of milk a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's good.
Well,
Your calcium. And the calcium will be helping with your period. Yeah. Getting that
I think
calcium.
that's like one of the best things that you ever said to me was like, get on Chronometer and check your calcium. So that was the biggest thing for me. And I'm like out in Orange. We can't always get grass-fed beef because of the drought. So grass-fed foods for me are a little bit tricky to get. So I just jump straight into the milk. That's where a lot of my protein and hence calcium and carbohydrate come from. But I feel like
it's cheap too.
Cheap. It's nutritious.
So good.
So that was a really good thing for me coming into this program, learning what nutritious food actually is.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. But you've been really good, you know, like you say, you've mentally, you've got the right attitude, like play the long game. You know, you would do everything we say, go do this, and you go away and actually do it, you know? So like you'll be, I reckon in another 12 months, you'll be good. Like your skin will be good and your period will be good. And I mean, even though it's obviously improved heaps, but
massively.
You know, and I think there's a real compounding effect. Like the longer you do this, the quicker you start to heal, you know? So
no, I love it. I love every aspect. I love the training. I love the mindset. Like, and it is a bit of a speed bump to get over because it's nothing like that's on the market. And like, you know, you hear people say like, oh, you know, like this is nothing like you'll ever be. But honestly, like, I'm 26. Like, I grew up dancing. I've put on weight at uni. I went through the Michelle Bridges, like, because I was just like, oh yeah, like that'll do. That's easy. Like, and it is. But like, what do you learn from that? You don't learn anything. You don't learn how to, like, why you're going wrong. And like, digestive issues are all addressed in this program. Like, and you've got like a lot of support coming at you all the time. Yes, you have to be the one to put yourself out there to do it. But if you don't do that in life, you're going to be a doormat your whole life. So, you know, like, and you learn to like not whinge about stuff. Like I like the other day I caught myself out at the gym and I was like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, no, wait, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like you can't do it? So, you know, just like those little things that like you learn to catch your mind and your triggers and stuff. And for me, having a bit of like a sort of depression-y, whatever that was going on back then, it's been really good for me to straight away pull up on that sort of behavior and that conversation and, you know, stop it, because it was affecting my relationships, it was affecting work. Like, and you don't want to be sad sack all your life. Like, that's the friggin' worst.
God, imagine what you're going to be like when you're my age. Wish I'd learned all this shit when I was in my time.
And I think that's why I feel quite passionate about it, because like I know what happens to people. Like, I know what happens on a daily basis, like, and I've seen how destructive disease is and like cancer is and stuff. I'm not saying that like, you know, curing cancer, but like I think there's a lot of like, and stress, malnutrition, like everything else. Like if you can nail those things, I think it has a lot to do with like, you know, the general health of your body. Like I've been back, I had 10 days off and I've come back to work and I've straight away got a sore throat. Like, yeah, I think stress is a big thing to do with it. So if you can compensate, like, and identify stress and back it up with what's going on in the program, like all those like specific supplements that this program addresses, just dive on in, just do it. Like it's the one thing I can say to anyone. And like I do try and like, and I'm not saying this because I'm trying to like, you know, drum up anything. I really do feel quite passionate about this, and I like am forever trying to talk to people at work, like the girls that I work with, like, and even like the occasional like patient that I deal with one-on-one. I'm just like, just touch back base with what you're eating and just think about things like wholeheartedly. Like stop smashing yourself. Like you're not going to be here long enough if you don't look after yourself. So, and you can't look after anyone else if you don't look after yourself.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah, like, but it's so good in your, like, there's a few women actually in our program and young girls, like there's a couple of mums that have like teenagers in the program, like 17. They're in grade 12. And I'm like, oh man, imagine if I'd learned all this back then. Like I wouldn't have had like 10, 15 years of like like self-hating and the drinking and the starving myself and stuff. You know what we should do is we should do a video. Like I should get all the young ones, like it's not many, but like, because I think because we really, the program is targets women that are my age and they're in their 40s, because that's, I think a lot of women like your age do it for a lot longer before they realize and then go, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. But if we could help women early, like get to them early when they're in their 20s before they go away and do all this stuff, it would help so much.
Well, I remember I literally, like my first period was that traumatic that I still remember all of it. Like I was quite young. I remember it like yesterday. It was the first day of term 4 and I was in year 5. And I remember the day before I had this horrendous like pain. And I said to my mum, I was like, I don't know what's wrong. And she was like, she's like, maybe you've just eaten something a bit funny. And I remember like, it was like this burning, intense, cramping pain. And I was like, what is this? And then went to bed, got up the next morning, and sure enough, like, I was like, oh, what the hell? And like, I was that concerned. I went and showed my mum because like, I was young, I was little. And she's like, oh shit, you got your period. And that was like me. I was game over. I was like, I didn't get out of bed. I was so embarrassed. And my periods like have been eventful ever since then. So like the sooner I think like in my, like not that my parents ever, like we were healthy as, like my brother had a lot of eating like he had a lot of digestive issues, like he had a lot of allergies. So like my mum made everything from scratch. Like she was really all over everything. But I just think, you know, like the extrinsic forces of, you know, that dance world and not being happy with my body, with where it was, like restricted for a long time. Like, I don't know if it's too much, but like I remember the first time that I figured out I could make myself like vomit after eating food, and I was happy. Like, I rejoiced. And I was like, what sort of like 14, 15-year-old, like, so I think a mother-daughter segment about like discussing food and discussing body and discussing what's normal and what's normal with your period is a huge thing that should definitely be more of a discussion in the general place, not just like within this like New Strength Win at Life group.
Yeah.
But if we can
Yes.
initiate the conversation here, like I think that would be beneficial for so many people.
I think too, like having some better role models for women when they're younger. Because like I remember I used to follow, and if you look at like, and I'm not saying that all the Instagram models, like there's some good healthy ones, but there's a lot of ones that like they're so lean and so small and so like, and look, some might be just naturally like that. Like there is always some. Like I shouldn't say that everyone, but a lot of them would flog themselves and not.
Well, you just see it like in their posts, like they all do these sponsored posts, and it's you know, this is my like. I don't even know what the brands are because I've like literally made an effort to go and block and remove this stuff just out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. But it's always like protein shakes and, you know, like that whole orthorexia type of thing where it's like this level of perfection that is never attainable. Like, I mean, the best thing that like you guys taught me was that, you know, these people get themselves down, it's like this percentage of body fat. That's not maintainable. Like you need a certain level. And I knew all this, but I just needed like the actual light bulb moment for me. That was like, they may look that way, but they are not healthy. Like,
and you
period, they're not getting like
and it fucks you in the head. Like I think it's taken me, like I'm 38 now, but it's taken me this long to be like, I'm not that lean anymore. Like I reckon I haven't had my skid fold some for ages, but I'd probably be between maybe 23 to 25% body fat. Now that is not fitness model fucking lean. Like these women are like 16, 15% body fat, but it's taken me a long time to go, because I got a lot of muscle too, you know, like, so I probably look a bit leaner than I am, but now I'm actually okay with, not that I'm saying I look bad or anything, but like I would be very high end of what the fitness world would say looks good or healthy. But I'm like, I'm not willing to eat. Like I won't eat anything less than 200 calories now because I can't. Like I won't be able to sleep properly. I'll be too hungry. I can't perform in the gym. And just to look like, because we all would love to look really lean and muscular, but it's like once you go down that path, it's like you just obsess. And you're obsessed with how you look. You can't. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to look good. Like it's like I like to dress up and look good, but not like to the point of where it's like it's obsessive,
ruining your body. Your functions turn off your. I think that's been the most interesting for me, like learning how, you know, if you do this and you do that, you're going to cause this chain of events in your body that's going to cause things to work in like this hyperactive like stress state. Like that's not how your body's supposed to run. Like that, like you may think you're feeling good, but you're not feeling good. Like it's been really interesting for me to figure out, you know, what actually feeling good is. And I'm so obsessed with like being able to eat more. Like I really, like, because my calories were up higher and then I sort of went away for a little bit and then came back. So my calories are slowly starting to get back up and I'm back at that point where I'm ready to jump again.
Yeah, which is awesome.
I'm really excited. And it makes you want to even be more consistent because you're like, I want to eat all this food. Like I get really upset when I've eaten most of my calories for the day and there's no more left. But it's just sort of more drive that, you know, and people at work, they're like, oh, you're always eating.
Yeah.
I remember I had to have a checkup at the GP for, you know, one of those lady checkups. And like, you look really good. Like, what have you been doing? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm like following this plan and blah, blah,
eating.
Blah. Yeah. And he was like, how much do you eat a day? And I was like, oh, it's, you know, sitting around like, you know, 1800-ish. And he was like, and you're not putting on weight? And I was like, no, actually. I was like, I've lost 4 kilos since when I started. And like, you know, my numbers have gone up strength wise. So, you know, it's all win-win. So
it's crazy, eh? It's
It's a newfound obsession and it's refreshing.
It's a good obsession, I think too. Like I was like you, like I'm always like obsessed with stuff, you know, like do things to the nth degree, but at least this like lifting and eating well, and it's a better obsession obviously to have than, you know, like just I think, and the strength training gives you like these cool little goals that you can work towards every session, like getting better at the lifting and being a better squatter, and it's good because actually just about to do a whole revamp of our entire lifting model and like how we roll it out, which is really going to be so cool. Like Craig and I are working on it this week and we'll launch it next week. So we'll have that for you guys, which I think is going to just change the way that people learn how to lift and like more time at the start, building stability and like bracing and all that stuff, and just being a really good lift, which I think is exciting. So I think that'll be cool.
Well, another thing like this program did for me, like I was at a point in my career and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know where I'm going. Like, do I go back to uni? And then I really started hooking to this and I was like, there is more to life than just work. Like, I don't think I've, like, since I stopped dancing, like, and I could never go back properly dancing because my body just won't work the way that I want it to. And that's all down to my feet. But like, it's just a whole other lease of life. Like, just learning to enjoy things outside of like work and like this newfound focus, this newfound hobby. Like, it's really changed the direction of, you know, where my life was going. And I'm enjoying like going to work and I'm enjoying coming home and looking forward to going to the gym and, you know, catching up with like everyone from like the Win at Life crew, and you're learning all the time. Like, and it just, yeah, it's like, I know again, like it's just so multifaceted that it's just a lot of things will change as long as you're consistent with it. Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome. Now, just quickly before we finish up, women, when they're thinking about joining the program, and you would have probably had some of these concerns, and these are the main concerns. So, one is money. They're like, is it worth it, me investing this sort of money in myself? Do you feel like you've gotten value for the money you've invested? Has it been worth it?
Yeah, 100%. Well, so I sort of had this dilemma, you know, 12 months ago. So as I said, like I ended up quitting my job in Brisbane. And one of the reasons, so I sort of left the program for a little time because I was like, I've got no job. How am I going to afford what I'm doing? So I had a quick discussion with Craig and he was like, look, go away, do what you need to do and come back when you're ready. And that's 100% what I did. And during that 12 months that I was away, I continued to do my best with all this sort of stuff, but it just wasn't working and I couldn't figure out why. And I was like, you know what? I can't do this. I can't be bored. I can't render myself infertile. So let's just invest this little bit of money. Let's just put money aside for it. And that's what I do. I budget around new strength because if I don't look after myself now, then who's going to look after me? Like I see the burden of the healthcare system and I every single day. And I see people, especially women in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, and they look like and they act like they're in their 70s and 80s. And I do not want to be that person. So if I can put in a little bit of time and effort now and just readjust my budget to include this, and you know, you're getting, so like I've talked to you several times and I've just sent you a message and you reply that day. I've talked to the physio. I've had a one-on-one conversation with her. We talked for an hour and a half about problems that I'm having with my shoulder and my back. And, you know, that was all part of the program. I've talked to Bo, who talks a lot about physiology, also on top of the training. I submit, you know, 10 plus training videos a week and I get prompt feedback on that. So you think about how much that costs. Like, what's the average cost of a PT per session? That's like $60 for, you know, the best part of a 30-minute, 45-minute session. And at the end of the day, you're just getting like that mostly cardio session. Like, you're not learning anything. Like, there are how many modules are there? 6 modules. Yeah, you're getting all the modules that teach you about eating, that teach you about food, how to actually feed yourself and your family. Like, you cost, like, that's probably, you know, it's several things that you're paying for in this one weekly payment that you consistently have like access to. And you're not fed something, you're taught something. So this is something that once you've, you know, you sacrifice that little bit, you put yourself first for once and you learn this so you don't have to keep doing this for the rest of your life, because being sick is so much more expensive. And I 100% agree that the pharmaceutical companies make more money off people being sick, people being well. There's never going to be that push about prevention, even though they say there is. I really don't feel there's going to ever be a push about prevention, which is 100% what this program is. Preventing problems and dealing with them now so you don't have to pay for them in 20 years' time. Because I know patients who have lost life savings trying to treat themselves from the illnesses that they have.
That's
so
crazy.
just invest in yourself now for this short period of time, for 12, 18 months, learn about what needs to happen and you're sorted. Like, and if you like continue on with it because you will continue to learn. So it's a lot better to pay for yourself when you're well than when you're sick.
Yeah, so true. And what about time? A lot of women say they don't have time to do this program. What would you say to that?
I think when you learn to invest in yourself, you learn to make time. So, and this is something that this program will teach you. It's going to teach you how to make time. It's going to teach you how to be more effective with your time and more efficient with your time. And I think once you start to see those little tiny leaps in, you know, being more effective with your time and managing people properly, you'll realize that you have got time. So, you know, we're exposed to all this literature that like you guys give us in the program about like creating daily habits and getting into routine. And if your family have to change, like obviously I can't speak from a family point of view, but I observed this, like, you know, watching the conversations happen on the pages, you know, people are starting to change their whole family's life, and like it's a positive effect. So it might be a little bit uncomfortable for a while, but I feel like any growth is positive. Like change is not comfortable. It's not meant to be comfortable. So, you know, you learn to make time, you learn to make changes, and eventually the changes will come and the time will come, because if you don't look after yourself, who will?
And the last concern is they're worried about doing it online. You know, like we obviously don't ever see you. We see you face to face on Zooms, but we don't actually physically coach you. If a woman was worried about doing it online, what advice would you give her?
I think don't worry. It's obviously like change is, so like what I just said, like change is uncomfortable. And you're learning a new skill. So, you know, you're learning not only about lifting, about eating, you're also learning about technology as well. So you're getting all this exposure to like all these extra things. Like, and like I've got a back problem and I've also got a shoulder problem. I've discussed it with the physio. I've discussed it with a couple of different coaches. I've sent in multiple videos. Like there are detailed videos everywhere about, you know, how to record yourself when you're training, and step-by-step processes to make sure that, you know, if you're struggling with something online, this is how you overcome it. Like, and, you know, like there are Zoom calls like what we're doing now, and like I know that none of you would hesitate to get on and talk someone through about being online and doing something. So it is online, but it's a whole new educational learning process. And, you know, my conversations, like I was petrified to deadlift, and I was coached online, having had a ongoing back problem for over 10 years. And I was coached through online, and I can now deadlift 90 kilos. I thought like that's what my 1 rep max is after like 6 months. Like I've never deadlifting it before. So I was skeptical at first, but, you know, like online is becoming such a new way of life. So it's just all a part of it. It's part of the learning process. So I wouldn't let that, I think if only one little tiny facet is holding you back, then you're silly for not going for it. If it's only one thing, that can be overcome. If it's 10 things, that can be overcome one step at a
time. And finally, if a woman was sitting on the fence about doing the program, what would you say to her?
I just think about where I was 6 months ago. And then I think about the 6 months before that. And then I think about the 6 months before that. And then I think about times when I was driving in the car and being so unhappy. I cannot do that 6 months down the track. I do not have time for that. Like, if you're doing the same shit every single day, like what's that? Like the definition of insanity is doing the same shit every day and not getting results.
Expecting a different outcome.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're sitting on the fence, like, what's 6 months out of your life? Like, even 3 months. Like, if you dedicate yourself to this for 3 months, you will see changes. Like, if you're going to sit on the fence, then, you know, you may as well jump over the fence, have a go, see what it's like, and just give it your all. Because I guarantee you that if you do this properly, in 6 months' time, you will be a different person. And for the first time the other day, I had someone ask me, "What are you doing differently?" I've always been that person to be like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And like, because yes, I'm generally interested in people, but to have someone finally say to me, "What are you doing?" to me was huge. So make yourself that person. Make yourself the person who makes changes in their life and finally does something for yourself.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking so much time out of your night and coming on. And
I'll have as I said before, I want to help as many people as I can.
We'll have to do a video for the women in their 20s. But if you're a woman and you're watching this, and you know you've had any sort of issues that Alex has, and you've been thinking about joining the program, just click on the link below and fill in the application form, and then you can book a free call with one of our coaches. There's no obligation to join. And you know, you can have a discussion and see if this program can actually help you and get you to where you want to be. So thanks again, Alex, and I really appreciate your time, and I shall chat to you in the program.
You will. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Bye.
Bye.